Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Crypto friends checking in on the space, so watching a little bounce play out again, and as the thumbnail suggests, there's a ton of opportunity in both directions. We're getting bounces of 4 to 7% on the way up, and then bear moves a little bit greater percentage-wise on the way down. But if you're just looking at the 4-hour time frame, it's really been a great opportunity over the past couple days to trade in any direction. We ended up having that 11-12% bounce, and then from there the bears ran with it and they knocked the price down a solid 18%, and now on this bounce yet again we're seeing a move of 8+%, and that's only on Bitcoin, and it's more volatile even on other individual names. So as traders, that's the volatility that we want to see. As long as we're planning our trades and executing them and having protection and all those good things, this is the ideal trading environment that we want to be trading in. So with Bitcoin right now, where I stand, I personally had a bunch of orders in the low 9,000s and then under 9,000 for Bitcoin, and only the ones above 9,000 filled, obviously. So I did get a couple fills, 9,300, 9,100. So I've got an average in Bitcoin right now of 9,200. And again, as I've talked about in my previous videos, I scale out into strength. So I sold pretty much right around where we are right now in the mid 9,700s. I sold a third of my position. So that position is up about 5%. So I lock in a third of that, and that puts my break even about 2.5% lower than where I entered. So my break even now would be on a break of 9,000 support. The bulls are not out of the woods yet. This is a solid bounce, but we haven't even changed the hourly trend on Bitcoin. We have broken resistance, but until we see clear consolidation, a higher low, and then continuation, we still haven't changed that trend. So that's what has me cautious. The 4-hour exponential resistance still has me cautious. We can't lose sight of who's in charge of the overall trend. And as far as the daily, 4-hour, and hourly time frame goes, the bulls still have a lot of proving to do, which is again why I am scaling out into these moves, because we can always see another leg down. And I always remind myself that, because the last thing I want to be doing is holding too big of a position and seeing lower lows being hit. So I will still be interested in playing the same game that I've been playing, where I have my buys under the most recent leg down. And if you just look back and say, and look at, if you bought this leg down, the break of 10,900, giving a percent or two and then starting to scale in, the bounce gets you back at the bare minimum to break even. And now we're seeing the same thing. 9,800 was the next leg down. Any bounce under that level, or I should say any entry under that level, has now gotten us back to worst case break even. So I do still have orders under 9,000, and I will look to scale out. Actually, at this point, now that I've taken a third of my profit, I'm going to give the bulls a chance to change some of these trends on the hourly and the 4-hour. And if we fail, I will scale into the mid 8,000s, where we have that gap, the futures gap that a lot of traders are watching as well. I did want a position in Litecoin, and it was the kind of thing where I kept checking in and kept hoping that I would be filled. And it was the kind of thing where I needed to wait for the trade to come to me. And the Bitcoin trade came to me, but Litecoin bulls held their support. And unfortunately, I missed the really nice, almost 20% bounce. We'll look at Litecoin in just a second, but my orders were literally right under where we hit. And just one of those things where next time around, those probably would fill. This time they did not, and didn't end up chasing anything. Ethereum has had a sweet bounce as well, daily inside bar forming. Again, for everybody, I'm watching the pattern of a lower high every day. And for a lot of names, we're on our 7th or 8th day with a lower high. When we break that pattern, we then look for the bounce for the trend of a lower high to be set on the daily time frame. That's the kind of bounce that I'm looking for. And once that occurs, I will be less aggressive scaling into weakness. Because if we see a daily lower high and then drop to lower lows, that's a completely different scenario. This scenario we're currently in is one where we're extended on the same move. We have not seen that little bounce to set the lower high and cool off the RSI levels. So looking at Ethereum, size of the bounce, again, very notable. And we did hold support and then break resistance. So you could call it a trend change on some time frames here. Let's look at the 4-hour. So held support, broke our short-term resistance, but we're still battling these 4-hour exponential resistances. So again, bulls aren't getting too comfortable. I'm looking up at the next major resistance of 235.87, and we're going to need to see further work. Remember when we've been watching the 12-hour time frame, and it's a very clear 12-hour downtrend ever since the recent top. So I do like the clarity on the 12-hour. Let's go back to Bitcoin and look at it on the 12-hour, again, very clear. Anything under $11,080 is just a lower high. And until we change that 12-hour trend back to the bulls, the bears are looking for 12-hour lower highs as their entries. So as I mentioned in a recent video, the bears can be doing the same thing that we are doing as bulls, scaling in to look for the bounces and then scaling out, just like scaling in as we approach EMA resistance and then scaling out as we drop down. And definitely want to point out that if you're a newer trader, my style of trading bullish, is not ideal. You want to be trading with the trend. That's when it's easiest. I don't know why my edge as a trader is oversold bounces. It's just the way that it is. So I will always be playing oversold bounces, even if it's against the trend, because I have historical data that tells me keep doing this, it's working. And the cryptocurrency space in 2018, I only traded Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin bullish, and I ended up having a good year. So I'm going to continue that style because it's working for me. But we have traders and members in our chat room that don't play oversold bounces because they've seen their own stats and can easily say, this isn't my style of trading. This is not where my edge is, and I'm going to be looking at a different style. And that's completely fine as well. Certainly don't want people to just follow what I do in this video. We have tons of people looking to short, and that's great as well because, again, the 12-hour time frame favors the bears still at this point. ETH BTC, so why the Ethereum and Litecoin bounce has been so significant is because the US dollar bounce is occurring at the same time as their Bitcoin pairings are bouncing. Keeping in mind that we're just looking for daily lower highs, 243 is resistance on ETH BTC. When these daily trends change, it will be very notable for me, and I will be much more interested in Ethereum and Litecoin. So looking for a potential lower high compared to 243, that might have been a sign. Right when I said much more interested in Ethereum and Litecoin, some agreement out there. So we'll look for a lower high on the daily, and the question is, can we form a higher low and a higher high and get over these daily exponential resistances? Litecoin was the bounce winner so far at this point, where from that low 77, just a rocket ship up to 94, and we've got a 22% move in 5 hours. That's the volatility we want to see. That's great opportunity for the bulls. So again, opportunity in both directions. 4-hour time frame, we have key resistance at 93 that has broken. Look at the exponential resistance. Look how many clear rejections from the 12 period we have seen in the last week. And now we have broken that, so it's a notable shift. 12-hour time frame, broken the lower highs. Notable shift. LTC, BTC, daily bounce is underway, but anything under 10.9 is just a lower high. Same thing. Have to see a daily trend change, have to get over the exponential moving averages, turn them into support, and that shift in momentum will be very notable if and when it takes place. It's a when. It will take place. It's just a matter of when. XRP also had a decent little bounce. Let's see what it does on the 12-hour. Again, I like the 12-hour clarity for everybody. Lower high was at 3227. We broke that level. And now the question is, can we change the trend? Even Litecoin, because we broke the 12-hour lower highs, that puts us as more bullish than the names like Bitcoin that have not broken that level. But don't lose sight that we still need that change in trend because this move is coming off of the lows. And as far as short-term support goes, if bulls, we're going to anticipate hourly higher lows on most names for the next consolidation that we see. But when we lose the hourly uptrend, that's when we're going to be looking at consolidation on the 12-hour time frame. And remember, for Bitcoin, we were watching that 12-hour and we were saying, you know, we have to change this trend if we're going to stay in this tightening daily pattern. And of course, we dropped to the lower low and that did not occur. Have to see the 12-hour trend change for it to be notable. BNB also had a very solid bounce off its lows. Look at that volume. That's going to be a volume climax candlestick from the low and probably the highest in a couple of months. So the bounce that we've seen here, solid 15+%, but look at the 12-hour. 12-hour for Binance. Nope. 12-hour for Binance. Anything under 29.58 is just a lower high. So we're coming up towards that resistance, and it's a potential scenario where we would look for an inverse head and shoulders pattern. If we fail to break 29.58, here's our head. Fail to break it, then we would form our right shoulder for the higher low, and then changing that 12-hour trend would be notable. So again, my style, scale out some of the bounce play into profit because we've seen lower lows multiple times and we can definitely see another lower low, but keeping some in case the bulls are able to change these 12-hour trends and get some more follow through and see the bounces translate onto the daily time frame. LINKUSD still holding on, not really doing anything as far as shifting momentum. 12-hour time frame, I'd say anything under 339 is just a lower high, so the bulls do have a lot of work to do. But same thing, have to change the 12-hour trend for a meaningful follow through to this bounce. And as long, you can be playing these moves in both directions, as long as we're seeing 12-hour lower highs, Litecoin potentially giving us an early indication that that's about to change, but bears are scaling in as the bulls are scaling out, essentially. So if we were to see significant follow through on this Bitcoin move and a move up over 10,000, excuse me, a move up over 10,000, I would be looking to exit at 12-hour exponential resistance. I would exit the rest of my position and then look to reload on a 12-hour higher low. So again, at this point, I'm not making big trades because not all of my orders are filling and I'm not going with aggressive sizing, but it's base hits. And my account for 2019 is at the highest it's been, even higher than when we were up at the high because, again, oversold bounce plays are my jam. But for me, just keeping those base hits going, all I care about, my goal is to have more money than yesterday. Some people's goals is to have more Bitcoin than yesterday. That doesn't mean we have to hit that goal every single day because then we're going to be forcing trades if that's the case. But as long as my account just makes one step forward every time I trade, that's all I care about. Obviously, there's step backs mixed in there. Not recently in the crypto space, fortunately, but bottom line is ask yourself what your goals are and then execute those goals. Are you looking to try and make a lot of money in a quick, short amount of time? Hopefully you have a lot of experience to try and make that happen because it's definitely difficult. But if that's the case, you are trading more aggressively. And that does not mean using leverage because the people that are using leverage, I cannot tell you how many people have blown up their account and gone to zero because all it takes is one mistake and one missed stop loss. And just like that, you're back to zero. So leverage is extremely dangerous. There's so much volatility in this space. We don't need leverage to grow your account. If you want to be aggressive, compound your profit and be consistent. And then you're going to significantly grow that position very quickly. If every time you're making profit, the next trade has an increased amount of capital put into it. So we'll check back in tomorrow and see how these time frames play out. Congrats to the dip buyers. We're getting to an area where the bears are probably going to start looking to reestablish some positions. We're keeping a close eye on the Bitcoin pairing charts for daily trend changes to prove something to us. The USD pairings need 12-hour trend changes, and the Bitcoin pairings need daily trend changes. That's where I stand. Hope you're well. Do a good thing or two, and we'll see you tomorrow. Checking in to show the trading station now, so adding some plants out here to the space in the sunroom, and this will be ideal in the spring and fall. In the summer it's pretty hot, and in the winter it's going to get chilly, although there is a heater already out here. So I got this standing desk and it's electronic, where you push your button and it goes up. So that's good for the back, and got a new chair. Racing chair. This was less than $100. Certainly an upgrade for me from what I was previously using. Got a nice money tree. Got a little back massager that I throw onto my chair every now and again and get some back rubbing going. And it's got a nice view of the little waterfall and the bird feeder. And I watch a squirrel and a little chipmunk that lives nearby. He stuffs his fat cheeks every morning. So finding my happy place to ensure that I'm in the right mindset for trading. And out here, I'm going to, over the winter, take out a section of that grass and put a bunch of perennial flowers and try and attract some pollinators. I did see the first hummingbird out here yesterday. So attract some more pollinators and birds, and also probably put a fig tree and some blueberries out there as well. I also got some snail friends from the internet. I'm going to stick those into the little waterfall to try and combat some of the green and red algae in there. We'll see how that goes.